Travel from Africa to Australia, beginning in Egypt, a land of ancient wonders. At its heart is the Nile River. Many visitors see the country mostly from the water. But there are many ways to travel here, and while the cruise boats beckon, you can choose to travel Egypt as the Egyptians do, by train. The starting point for your journey, Cairo, the capital. It's the largest city in Africa. Most Egyptians are Muslim. Cairo is filled with mosques. The call to prayer echoes through the city 5 times a day. The old section of Cairo is crowded, dusty, and fascinating. There are streets where the only thing for sale is garlic, and streets where you can buy a little bit of everything. Only a few of Cairo's oldest houses are still standing. This latticed balcony once hid the women of the house as they gazed out at the local scene. From a more modern balcony, a startling sight rises up. The Great Pyramids of Giza, 4,000-year-old royal tombs, right at the edge of the modern city. Just beyond the pyramids lies the desert, and in shifting sand, burial of the dead is impermanent. A tomb is more lasting. Egypt's great pharaohs took tomb building to astonishing heights. In the past, the pyramids were clad in smooth limestone casing, but most of that surface has disappeared. The largest of the pyramids contains more than 2 million blocks of stone, a staircase to the sky. Nearby, the Sphinx, the enigmatic mascot of this extraordinary civilization. Back in central Cairo, Ramesses train station could be mistaken for a mosque. In fact, once a week, it becomes a mosque, temporarily. Each Friday, an enormous green carpet is rolled out, so that travelers can pray. This is the holiest day of the week, and not even a train journey can come between a devout Muslim and the duty to bow before Allah, having first removed one's shoes. Muslim women offer their prayers at home or at mosques, in separate halls. Travelers go to a different station, Cairo's Central Station, to catch trains to Luxor and the magnificent temple at Karnak. It's a night train, popular with foreign tourists. The ticket includes dinner and breakfast. Local travelers pay only half what foreigners are charged, but this train is still too expensive for most Egyptians. The bar car stays open late into the night. By morning, you're in Upper Egypt. 10 hours from Cairo, the city of Luxor, and the nearby temples of Karnak and Edfu. No mere mortal could venture inside the temples, only priests and the pharaoh himself. But today, anyone can wander these labyrinths of stone covered in bas-relief. The carvings and sculptures were intended to entice the gods to inhabit this place of worship and protect mankind. A double row of ram-headed sphinxes guards the entrance to Karnak's great temple of Amun. Amun was held to be one of the gods of creation. Inside, a series of chambers, each smaller than the one before, leads back to a tiny inner sanctum. Roughly in the center, the hypostyle chamber, with 134 massive columns. Crowning the columns, huge capitals, some so enormous that 100 people could stand on top. Egypt's ancient religion was populated by dozens of gods and goddesses. The falcon represents the god Horus. His eyes symbolize the sun and moon. At the heart of Egyptian temples lies the smallest chamber, the inner sanctum, often called the Noah. Here, with each new day, the priests offered food, flowers, and incense for the gods. Pharaoh, the supreme ruler, was believed to have been enthroned by the gods themselves. He bore the responsibility for maintaining harmony on earth. Not far from Karnak, colorful paintings represent the bond between the Egyptians, their gods, and the land. The Egyptians were talented farmers who knew how to reap the bounty of the Nile Valley. The pigments have not faded, and neither has the talent for agriculture, as Luxor's modern-day markets prove. The journey continues on a train heading towards Aswan, about 4 hours south of Luxor. From there, many travelers continue on to the monuments at Abu Simbel. This is the train the locals use. If you travel third class, you can expect bargain prices. Just don't expect to find a non-smoking carriage. Aswan is built along one of the 5 rocky cataracts that partially obstruct the Nile between here and its source. Abu Simbel lies about 4 hours from here. Traditional sailboats called feluccas used to carry merchandise up and down the Nile. These days, they are more likely to carry tourists. Aswan is a charming place to relax and enjoy the mixture of Egypt's natural beauty and a touch of European elegance as the sun goes down. Perfect time to experience Abu Simbel, where the pharaoh Ramesses II had himself portrayed 4 times over. Each statue is the height of a 5-story building, each face more than 4 meters wide. When the Aswan Dam was built, an international rescue effort was mounted to save this wonder of the world from the rising waters. The statues were moved stone by stone. It took 9 years. These These statues were intended to dazzle and frighten Egypt's Nubian enemies with the might of Pharaoh. Today, they have lost none of their overwhelming power. India, where more than 20 vintage steam trains are still in service. Images from the past that will soon disappear. The Indian Railway uses more than 7,000 trains to carry over 10 million passengers each day. The main station at Delhi with its Victorian-style ticket booth and regular tea service. Memories of the years of British rule. But India has a style all its own. It's not unusual to see passengers performing their morning ablutions right on the platform. This engineer will carry out a different kind of ritual before the train departs. The engineer is a Sikh. He offers up a prayer before he drives the train out of the station. This is the Taj Express. It travels from Delhi to Agra, home of the Taj Mahal. From Agra, the rail line continues to Jaipur, former capital of Rajasthan. Indians depend on their trains. The National Railway has more than 60,000 kilometers of track. The Taj Express is popular with tourists, but there are also many locals on board. Another tradition from the days of the British Raj, a full English breakfast. Passengers have come from near and far. Most have come to see a famous monument to love. Four and a half hours after leaving Delhi, the Taj Express crosses the Yamuna River. And suddenly there it is, just visible in the distance, the Taj Mahal. The Taj is one man's timeless tribute to a fleeting life. This shimmering marble palace is the tomb of the wife of a Mughal emperor who died in childbirth, leaving him heartbroken. Its flawless proportions, which extend to the mosques that are part of the complex, make this one of the most exquisite man-made creations on Earth. India's trains run the gamut, from the most basic to the most elegant. This one is called the Palace on Wheels. You can sleep in carriages that are faithful reproductions of the ones that once carried Maharajas. This luxury train makes stops in 7 cities in 1 week, in style. The route this time, Agra to Jaipur. High ticket prices mean that the palace on wheels is beyond the reach of all but the wealthiest of Indians. It caters mostly to foreign tourists. The Palace on Wheels takes you to the Palace of the Winds, built in 1799. This impressive facade is actually just a facade. The sequestered ladies of the harem, the Maharaja's wives, would come here to take up windows on the world, to see without being seen, their only contact with the rest of Jaipur. Most Indian trains provide a more down-to-earth experience. Journeys of 24 hours or more are not uncommon. Train carriages become dormitories. People sleep anywhere they can. This train is bound from Delhi to Varanasi, a 16-hour trip. Varanasi was formerly known as Benares. For the predominantly Hindu population, arriving in Varanasi means a chance to be in a holy city. In the spring, Varanasi is crowded with Hindus celebrating the Holi, the Feast of Colors. Bright pigments represent the seasonal return of life and light. Friends take part in a free-for-all, covering each other with color. Varanasi hugs the Ganges River. In every season, Hindus flock here to bathe in the sacred water, in the hope of washing away their sins, so that the next life will be easier. Hindus believe that death is followed by rebirth into another life. Traveling through India by train is utterly unique. Where else on earth can you see a sacred cow wandering a train station? China, India's neighbor, is so vast that it would take many train journeys to see all the classic sights, from the Great Wall to the mountains of Guilin. The size of China's population is staggering. Just one example of the statistics. The number of people who work for the Chinese railroad? 3.5 million. One scenic rail journey starts in Beijing, the capital of China, where you can venture into the Forbidden City. For 500 years, this was the exclusive realm of China's imperial family. No ordinary citizens were allowed inside. Symbols are loaded with meaning. A symbol of filial fidelity. A stork's young always respond to her call. A lion, symbol of the Ming dynasty. The world is held beneath his claws. Dragons symbolize the hostile forces of nature. Only the emperor had the right to add the dragon's eyes to paintings and sculpture, thereby taming him. And only the emperor was allowed to cross over these marble dragons. Carried in his litter, of course. His porters used the steps. These days, the Chinese, rich and poor, are likely to travel short distances by bicycle. It's still the most popular form of transportation. From Beijing, the journey takes in several of China's most intriguing sights. It runs south to Taiyang, then on to Suzhou and Shanghai. It's a journey of 24 hours if you travel non-stop. Chinese trains have two classes, hard seats, and some of these passengers are going to be in them for a long time. They're making this leg of the journey, a trip of 11 hours, in order to visit a holy mountain near Taiyang. There are special carriages for foreign tourists. On the Beijing to Taiyang train, there's a chance to fill up on the railroad's specialities of the day. For anyone who likes Chinese food, this is the real thing. Most of the people who get off here will be making a strenuous... Back on board, heading south towards Suzhou. Entire nation on the move. In the recent past, China has made the transition from the strict regime under Mao to modern miniskirts. It is now one of the most intriguing... A journey through Southeast Asia begins in Thailand. At a Buddhist shrine in the north of Thailand, a train leaves the city of Chiang Mai, heading south. From Chiang Mai, you can take a train to Bangkok, then on through Malaysia to Singapore. A journey of 48 hours if you travel non-stop. Just outside the train windows, you can see farmers tending their crops. Virtually all the ingredients of Thailand's cuisine are grown locally. On board, there are freshly cooked stir-fries and other typical Thai foods. All over Thailand, you'll see Buddhist monks in their saffron-colored robes. Nearly every young Thai male becomes a monk for at least a few months, taking up Buddha's vow to renounce material wealth. can soak up the vivid colors of an Asian city. The grounds of the former imperial palace. Although no king lives here now, the gardens and pagodas are still magnificent. Leaving Bangkok, the train heads further south. As on many trains, most of the local residents travel second class. Wealthier Thais and foreign tourists splash out on seats in first class. The Thai coastline, including the lush beaches of Phuket, is not directly served by the rail line, but it's within a few hours' travel. Once a week, another train travels much of this same route. It runs from Bangkok to Singapore in 48 hours. But from your first glimpse, it's clear that this train is in a class by itself. This is the Eastern and Oriental Express, the E&O, the most luxurious train in Asia. The E&O has an open-air observation car, performances of local music, elegant furnishings, and of course, air conditioning. It's like a five-star hotel on wheels. Members of the train staff wear the clothing of the country the train is passing through. For this leg, that means a traditional Thai ensemble. Imagine being able to take a hot shower on a train as it zooms through the jungles of Southeast Asia. The E&O was built in Japan in 1972 and is now owned by the same company as Europe's Venice Simplon Orient Express. The chefs make sure the gourmet food is spicy enough for Asian passengers, but not too spicy for Westerners. After lunch, you can have your palm read by the train's own fortune teller.
This line means for you will have everything you want finally. And your finger, artistic finger.
But there is a somber note to this journey. While the train is near Bangkok, it makes a detour to cross the famous bridge over the River Kwai. It's part of the stretch of track known as the Death Railway, built during World War II by POWs from Britain, Australia, the Netherlands, and the United States, as well as Asian conscripts. It is said that on some sections of the track, one man died for every cross-tie that was laid. It's tranquil here now, but this is where men pulled logs, unloaded barges, and cleared the jungle on a diet of rice and water. 150,000 died, victims of cholera, malaria, malnutrition, and exhaustion. Back en route, there's time to reflect on this grim period, the sacrifice of so many lives, before easing back into the comfortable world of the Eastern and Oriental Express. Some passengers choose to dress formally for dinner. The porcelain is Italian, the crystal is German, the silver is French, and the passengers come from all over. The surroundings seem to put people in a romantic mood. After dinner, native performers entertain the passengers. Meanwhile, the private compartments are prepared for the night. But no one seems the least bit sleepy. Train travel often means making new friends, and it's especially true in this rarefied atmosphere. It's morning, and the train has left Thailand behind and entered another country. During the night, the train has crossed into Malaysia and passed through its capital city, Kuala Lumpur. But passengers on the E&O don't go through passport control. Passport control comes on board to check their documents. This train even has its own boutique. With the train in Malaysia now, the staff has changed into Malaysian dress. The Eastern and Oriental is nearly half a kilometre long. For passengers and carriages at the front end of the train, it's a long walk back to the observation car. So, to be fair, halfway through the trip, the carriages are rearranged so that those who were originally at the front of the train are at the back. Last stop, the tiny but powerful state of Singapore. It's time to leave behind this luxurious cocoon and plunge into one of the world's busiest centers of business and finance. The staff has made one last change of national costume before sending passengers on their way. Australia beckons travellers to come down under, to the southern hemisphere, and explore a country nearly as large as Europe. A perfect starting point is Sydney, on Australia's east coast, where the first European colonisers made landfall in 1788. You can cruise Sydney Harbour on an exact replica of the infamous ship, the Bounty. Its story was told in Mutiny on the Bounty. Sydney Opera House has become a symbol of the city. It's been compared to everything from seashells to billowing sails. Australia's colonisers clung mostly to the coastal region. A transcontinental rail line wasn't completed until 1917. Aussies fondly call it the Trans. Sydney is a cosmopolitan city. Its inhabitants are from a broad mix of backgrounds. During good weather, the street life is especially lively. You can get around Sydney on a modern monorail. It makes a loop of the downtown area, cutting in and out of buildings, including major department stores. A train comes along every 6 minutes. Could shopping get any easier? But if you want to do something even more relaxing, Australia's coastline is practically one long beach. Bondi Beach is right in Sydney. In Australia, you can go surfing in a city. To see more of Australia, take the trams from Sydney to Perth, from the Pacific Ocean to the Indian Ocean. It's a 4,300-kilometre journey aboard the train known as the Indian Pacific. It leaves from Sydney's main station, where all kinds of travellers anticipate departure in all kinds of moods. A game of charades is already underway. Passengers lose no time getting to know each other. It's going to be a long trip. 3 days. Happily, this is one of the few trains on Earth where even second-class passengers have access to showers. Not far from Sydney, the Blue Mountains. Once trains went no further than this. The mountains get their unusual tinge from a fine mist in the air, droplets of oil released by the eucalyptus trees. And where there are eucalyptus trees, there are koalas. This is the animal that inspired the teddy bear. But it isn't a bear at all. It's a marsupial. A young koala grows in its mother's pouch. A koala can eat more than 1 kilo of eucalyptus leaves in a day. You're most likely to see another famous Australian marsupial around sunset. That's when kangaroos come out to feed. These red kangaroos grow to a height of almost 2 meters. There are so many of these powerfully built animals in rural Australia that cars have rhubards to protect drivers in case of collisions. Having a meal adds to the pleasure of any train trip. On a 3-day journey like this one, each meal becomes even more of an event. Even if some passengers don't enjoy every bite. The train pushes on, entering the terrain Australians fondly call the outback. The interior is still virtually uninhabited. Over 80% of Australians live in just 1% of the country.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Notice this slight bend in the line. It's the last hint of a curve for 442 kilometers. This is the longest stretch of straight rail track in the world. A stop in the tiny desert town of Cook. There isn't much to do here today, except buy a t-shirt in support of the local hospital, though it looks as if it hasn't got many patients. Getting off the train for even a little while comes as a relief.
Here, I'll have... All aboard, go aboard.
It takes the train 24 hours to cross the Nullarbor Plain. The desert stretches 800 kilometers. Nullarbor, null arbor, means without trees, although there are a few. Most passengers are blissfully unaware of what it took to build this railroad. Men worked in temperatures that reached 50 degrees in the shade. Often the rails would become too hot to touch. Now passengers travel in an air-conditioned, self-contained miniature city on wheels. Out here, where railroad workers sometimes buried themselves in the sand to avoid the blazing sun. Finally, a real town. Kalgoorlie, a mining town that dates from Australia's gold rush. In 1892, an Irish vagabond found a gold nugget on the ground. Within a week, 700 men had rushed in. Within 10 years, the population was 100,000. It's now about 30,000. Kalgoorlie's streets are extra wide, built to accommodate the prospectors' camel trains and ox carts. Today, there's still a lot of gold in the ground. A mine operates practically in the middle of the town. Australia also mines rich deposits of iron and coal. But it was gold that made Kalgoorlie. It's been called the richest square mile in the world. The flow of minerals hasn't always been so steady. In the early days of prospecting in the outback, it was boom or bust. Towns came and went, sometimes virtually overnight. Emus, Australia's flightless birds, wander through the ghost towns. These days, Kalgoorlie's miners often work 12-hour shifts, and they are known to drink a beer or two. The town is known for its rather unusual bars, where the waitresses are known as skimpies. Back on board the Indian Pacific, another morning, another wake-up call.
Good morning.
This is one way to quiet the chorus of, "Are we there yet?" More charades, anything to pass the time.
Down in the flat. Down in the flat? Yeah. Down in the flat.
Finally, the train reaches Perth, on Australia's west coast. Perth and its port of Fremantle are thriving as minerals are exported out from the west. The city is a welcome sight, even if the so-called Old Town, a mini version of London, is actually quite new. This is a relatively young city, filled with modern buildings and modern art. But there is also tradition, much of it imported from England. For instance, the Ladies' Bowling Club maintains a strict dress code. White clothing only, please. A few years ago, a player dared to wear a blue blazer. The members are still talking about it. Perth has pubs to rival the best in England. They originally served thirsty sailors who had survived the long voyage around Africa and across the Indian Ocean. Perth must have been a welcome sight indeed. It's been a journey from coast to coast, from sail to rail and back again. Trains crisscross every major continent. With so many fabulous possibilities, the only question is, which ticket to buy first?